Hey everybody, Kevin Wagonmaker here, Montcalm Community College Instructional Technology. I want to spend a little bit of time today talking to you about Microsoft Forms and how they can be used in your learning environments, how they can be shared in Canvas, and how they can be adapted for a lot of different things, from quizzes, quick feedback items, and things like that in your course. So here we go. Now the easiest way for you to find Microsoft Forms is from the MCC sign-in area. You can see it as a tile right in the My Apps area. Forms can be generated from your OneDrive, but you're not going to be able to find them from there. So it's best for you to get into the habit of going to the Forms tile and accessing your forms that way. Once you get into the Forms area, you're going to see any forms that you have previously created. You're also going to have the option to create new forms. And there's two types of different forms that you can create. There's a quiz type and just a general survey type of form. You can see up in the upper left-hand corner that the quiz type is ready to go for you. If you want to choose just a generic survey to get feedback, you just click on the down arrow and you're going to see new form is right there for you. But for the sake of this activity, we're going to choose new quiz. I do want to mention though that you can edit any previously created form. So you can see all the different forms that I have available here. At any point in time, I can go in and adapt those and make those as I need to. And we can also adjust some of the different views here. We can pin forms that we use frequently. We can view forms and share forms with others. So if we're working collaboratively with somebody else, we can share the form with them. So let's go ahead and get this process started, and we're going to go ahead and click on New Form in the upper left-hand corner. Once our form opens, well, our quiz in this case, we're going to see that we have a very blank slate. It's up to us to start creating what we want this to look like. So all we have to do is click on different areas within the quiz or the form, and we can start editing them. And the first one obviously is going to be the title. You just click on that, and that allows us to add a title. Now for this example, I'm just going to throw together a lot of different subject areas into one quiz. So we're going to give it an appropriate name. And we can also give it a description. And we can also give it an image. Now the cool thing about the image search is it allows us to search for a generic image using Bing. We can also upload one from our OneDrive, or we can upload one from a file on our desktop, documents folder, wherever it may be. We're just going to go ahead and find one on Bing. Now, keep in mind that adding an image is not something that we need to do right here, and there's a lot of different places that we can add images, and I'll show you as we go. But this is just one way to kind of add some life to your quiz or survey. So the first type of question we are going to add is actually going to be an English question, and we're going to click on Add New, and you can see that we have several different question types that we can add, and there's even more question types if we click on the down arrow, so you can see that there's a lot of options. So we're going to do just a few of these. We're not going to cover all of them. I'll let you go through depending on what you're looking for and experiment with these on your own. But for the first one, we're just going to do a good old multiple choice question, and you can see from here that we have the option to throw in our question. So I'm going to do that quick. Now you can see as I'm building this and adding in my different multiple choice options, it actually gives me suggestions that I might want to add. And so my last one, I'm going to go ahead and throw in a noun. I'll also throw in an adverb. So it makes it very easy for you to quickly add quiz questions and suggested options for your students to answer. Now, you'll notice that as I hover over, or as an option is active, we have the option to click and add by clicking on these dots. We can trash this option. We can also add feedback based on how the students answer. And then we can also select, obviously, which one is right and which ones are wrong. And so for this one, we're going to go ahead and call it an adjective as the correct answer. So we'll click on that checkbox. And now we're ready to go. At this point, we'll go ahead and assign our point value. We just want this to be worth 1 point. We can decide if multiple answers are okay. So maybe there are multiple, which there's not in this case. But if you toggle this, you can see that our radio buttons turn to check marks. So students can check multiple boxes, but we're going to untoggle that. We can also make this question required. I think in most cases for a quiz, you're going to probably want them to be required, so you're going to have to remember to do that. Over to the right here, you're going to see more menu dots. You'll see that there's a drop down there. You notice that for the question, I didn't put a number there. There already is a number there, but you want to stay away from putting numbers there, because if you do decide to shuffle your questions, that will put a check mark by it, and that will then shuffle them. So if you have numbers included in your questions, like in the text box here, that might confuse your students. So for this case, we're going to make sure we unshuffle it so that check mark is gone. There's also the option to do a drop down. So what this would do, instead of listing all the different answers right within the student's line of sight, it would create a drop down box with the different choices on it. So you can see that takes away the radio buttons, and they can select from the list what they're going to do. We'll get to the math one here in a little bit. As far as subtitles go, if you wanted to give more of a description to it, more of an idea of what the question is all about, you can add a second box there. And last and certainly not least, but this doesn't have a lot of relevance right now because we only have one question. But if you want to add something called branching, that allows you to set up like more of a prescriptive question, a choose your own adventure, if you will, that will base where the students go on to the next question on how they answer the question that we see right here. So we have our first question there. We're ready to add a second question. This one is for the math majors out there. So for this one, we're just going to go ahead and choose a text question just to change it up a little bit because we want them to input their answer. So we'll go ahead and add that question now. Now this type of question is going to obviously appear a little bit different. You're going to see that the question box has been added here. You can't actually click on this as the creator of the quiz. That is going to be where your students are going to input their response. But what we need to do now, since this is a math question, is we're going to enable the math keyboard. And if we click on the menu dots, we're going to see that we have the math option here. And that will add an enter an equation box. So we're going to go ahead and enter an equation right here that goes along with what we're asking the students to do. And just like that, we have our question ready to go using the math keyboard. Now you can alternate back and forth from the regular text to the math keyboard if you choose to do so. Down below, we're gonna go ahead for scoring purposes and add the answer. And you can see that the math keyboard is enabled for that as well. So we're just gonna go ahead and throw that in. So for this one, we can also add multiple answers if we wanted to do so, or if that was the case. And you can see that I can just throw in an 8 here, and then that allows us to have multiples, but obviously that doesn't work for this one, so we're just going to go ahead and trash that one. We're going to adjust the point value if we want to, but we're going to leave it at 1. We're going to make sure it's required. We can see that that's ready to go as required, and as far as I'm concerned, we are good to go. We're ready for question number 3, and for this one, we're going to choose some biology. So for this one, we're just going to leave this one again at multiple choice. We're going to go ahead and throw in our question. So you can see here that based on the previous question, we have our math keyboard still turned on. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off because this is a biology question. And we don't want a subtitle either, so we're going to go ahead and uncheck that. We just want them to identify the item shown in number 1. But we don't have the item showing there, so what do we do? Like I mentioned from the start, you can add images at a lot of different points along the way with these quizzes or forms. And so we're going to go ahead and click on Insert Media, and we have an image that we're ready to bring up. Like I said before, you can do the image search, you can grab it from your OneDrive. This one's just on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And that's going to bring up that image that I'm referencing right now. And you can see that once it loads, it's going to be a cell, and I'm going to have different markers around the cell for them to identify. But for this question, we're just going to ask them to choose the option available for number 1. So this is a multiple choice. I have 4 different options for them to choose from. And once we have that in there, since they're solving for number 1, we know that that's ribosomes. So we're going to go ahead and mark that as the correct answer, make sure our point value is good, and we should be good to go. We can just click out of it, and now our question is good to go. But maybe we decided that we want biology to go first because it's going in alphabetical order, biology, English, math. So what we want to do is we want to move that question up. And to do that, we just click in the cell, or the question, and we click on the up arrows. You can see that that's brought it up to the top. It's question number 1. Another cool thing about forms is you can add different sections to it. So to help our students identify which item is which, we can go to Add New, click on the drop down, and that's a section header. So we can say biology, and we can add an image here as well, but we're not going to take the time to do that right now. I'll let you fine tune that as you wish. And the problem with Microsoft Forms, and you might want to think about this ahead of time, is they don't make it incredibly easy for you to move the sections around once you create them. And so now we have it as we want. We're going to go ahead and add our second section. Just like that, we've done that. We're going to go ahead and move our English item down to section 2. We're going to add our third section for math, third and final section. And we'll add our math question down to that section. So there we go. We've got our quiz created. As far as we're concerned, it's ready to roll. Although I do want to show you one cool thing. So if I go to the math section, and let's say I want to add just a basic algebraic equation question, and I'm going to do it as a multiple choice. We can go ahead and solve and we enter in our question, x plus 3 equals 6. Very simple. We'll go ahead and click OK. And you can see the cool thing about this is it will actually give you suggested results. Now this is a super easy one. And it also includes the right answer with the check mark next to it. So you can just go ahead and throw in some options here and then throw that in, and you can see that it's already listed as the correct one, so you are good to go. Now here's where it gets a little bit better, is when you click on Add New, it gives you suggested questions. So this almost builds your quiz for you if you don't want to come up with your own questions on your own, or if you wanted to, you got some math quiz writer's block, you can throw in some suggested questions as well. So I just wanted to show you that. We'll go ahead and leave, actually we'll go ahead and delete that because I haven't shown you how to delete it. Very easy to get rid of items, just click on that trash can and now it's gone. Now let's talk about taking this quiz and sharing it places. Now before you go to share, there's a couple things that you want to check on before you go. And the first one is obviously this preview. Now the cool thing about forms and quizzes in forms is it shows you different visuals in terms of how your students might be viewing it, because we all know that students are accessing these content items from both a computer and maybe even a mobile device. So up at the top, you're going to see that we can view what your students are going to see as far as how this quiz is viewed from a computer. We can also see what it looks like from a mobile device, and we can scroll through it. It's great. You can see that by adding the sections, we have created the students need to click on next to move through the different sections. They only appear one on the screen at the time. If you don't have sections, the students will just be able to scroll down through all the questions. You can see that Immersive Reader also is integrated into forms. So if we click on that, or if your students click on that, they can have the quiz questions read to them. So we like what we see, and we're going to go ahead and back on out of here. The other item is we can adjust the theme. So this is the default theme, just the teal, aqua, whatever you want to call it. We can add a different theme to this if we choose to do so. We can also add our own theme. So if you have an image that you'd like to add, you can go ahead and upload that image on your own as well. You can add your own specific color if you want to do that using a color code, but we're just going to leave it as it is for now. This is cool enough for me. Now, we have reached the point where it's time to share, but before we do that, there's a few more settings that I just want to make you aware of, and that's the menu dots right here. And if we click on settings, it's going to bring up different options. Okay, we can decide who is going to be able to fill out this form or quiz. If we want it to be MCC students only, obviously we'll click on only people in my organization, because that will require them to have an MCC sign-in. We can also choose a start date, so you can make this quiz so it's not even available until a certain date and time, just like that. We can also close the quiz down just like we would a Canvas quiz at a certain date and time as well. Lastly, you can allow response receipts, and you can also choose whether students can see the results automatically after they take the quiz. So those are just a couple options within there, but wait, there's more. If you want to give out a hard copy of this, you can also print this form. Now that's one of the downsides of a Canvas quiz, in that you can quickly and easily print these quizzes or surveys out. And the other two options are just Microsoft related if you wanted to give Microsoft feedback, and then all the legal stuff as well. So now we're ready to share. So to do that, obviously you'll click on the share button, and you got a couple different options for sharing. The easiest way for you to share is just to take this link and to distribute it to your students. But if you don't want them to have to leave Canvas, or you don't want them to have to leave Teams, or you don't want them to even have to leave Nearpod, we can embed the quiz right into those items. So if you just want to share the link, it's right here for you. It's this first item, which by default is going to be available to you. You just click on copy, and you can send it out to whoever you need to, whether it's email, in the chat, within a Teams meeting, or just within a module item. But you can also embed your quiz within a Canvas item or within a team. And to do that, you just click on the embed, and that's going to give you this embed code right here. You can easily copy it, and then we'll take it over to a Canvas item. Now I have to open one up quick, so bear with me. So the cool thing is we can add this to any Canvas item that has a rich content editor. We can add it to a content page, instructions of an assignment, quiz instructions. I recommend that you add this to an assignment. And so I have an assignment right here. It's called a math quiz. Obviously, I'll need to change the name of this. There we go. Now we see our text entry box right here. All we have to do is paste in that embed code, but hold up, there's one more thing that you need to do. In the bottom right hand corner is your code option, and you're just going to click on the HTML editor, and we're just going to paste that code right there like that. We click on that code editor again, and our quiz should show up. There it is. Your students can take the quiz using Microsoft Forms without ever leaving Canvas because you just did this. You can also adjust the point value. Now I will tell you this. This does not have gradebook integration, meaning you're going to have to view the responses in Forms and bring the grades over to your gradebook. So in that case, you're going to go ahead for the submission type and leave it as no submission. And then you do all the other Canvas assignment things, save and publish, and it's good to go for your students to take, just like that. Now, from this point, we viewed this strictly as a quiz, but keep in mind that this could be for a form as well, or just a simple survey created within forms. And you can also add these to your team. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Teams area. I'm just going to do it via the web. So when it comes to Teams, there's a lot of different ways that we can get our forms involved with Teams. The easiest way is to create polls and things like that right within the team. And you saw how I could do that from a Teams meeting. But you can also do that right within the channel. You just click on New Conversation. You can see that there is a Forms icon. But the problem with this is it's not going to allow you to pull in pre-existing forms into it. You have to create them right from here. And these are just for simple, quick feedback polls within a Teams or within a Teams meeting. If you want to bring in your forms that you have already created, there's a couple ways. So I created a channel for this. I'm going to go to that. And I'm going to pop on back to my forms area. And I'm just going to use the copy for the URL. You notice that I chose a different toggle button here. And if I go back to that team, I'll click on New Conversation. And I can just paste that form right within the team. And just like that, students can click on that and go on and fill that form or that quiz out. Very easy to do. Additionally, if I wanted an ongoing feedback item, I can go to this plus up here and I can actually choose forms from the list that will show up here once this loads. And one of the first items that we see on the list is forms. If you don't find it, you can go ahead and search for it, but it is there. And that's going to allow us to either create a form right from here or create an existing form. We can see that our multi-subject quiz is the first one on the list. And we can choose how we collect responses and show results and all that stuff. And we have a couple other choices here as well, but we're just going to go ahead and save it. And the cool thing about that is now we don't have to have our students click on a link to get to it. It shows up right within the team and allows the students to take the quiz. Look at that. Okay, and I can view my results. I got a 3 out of 3. I'm on a good track. So once we have somebody that has submitted a quiz, we can start viewing our results for the quiz. So to do that, we just, as the instructor or as the creator of the quiz, we just pop back to the form or the quiz, whatever you want to call it. And you can see that now we have a response up at the top. We click on responses and we can see how our students answered or how the individuals gave our feedback. We see a breakdown. If we want to post the scores, we can do that. If we want to review answers, we can do that. If we want to spreadsheet them, we can do that as well. Also, if you want to create a summary link, so maybe you have another instructor or another planner that you need to share with, there is a link right here from the menu button that allows you to create a summary link and share that with others that need to see these responses as well. Forms is great for mobile. Forms is a different option than Canvas in the fact that it can be a little bit easier to set up. It can be a little better for quick feedback items. But if you're looking for gradebook flow, automatic gradebook flow, and more specific options within your quizzes, obviously Canvas is the way to go. But I've had a lot of instructors ask me about using forms within meetings for quick feedback, for giving quizzes, and just as a different option to kind of change it up for your students. And if that's the case, Forms is a great option to try. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Have a great day.